Hey, this is Brian Briscoe, host of the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. And I think today's episode needs a special introduction. You guys know who I am. You've been hopefully listening to this podcast for a while, and hopefully we'll continue to listen for a long time. So today you're going to see something different or hear something different, depending on whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on one of the many podcast apps out there. But a few months ago, we introduced Tyler Guptill on the podcast when he interviewed me. He reached out to me through the podcast, joined the Tribe of Titans, then mentioned, hey, it'd be nice if we heard your story. So he convinced me to tell my story with him interviewing me. And I thought it was a great episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back and check it out. But he did such a great job that I'm going to bring him on from time to time as a co-host, specifically on some of the First Deal episodes. Today, I hope you enjoy this episode with co-host Tyler Guptill and our guest today, Raquel Adkins.
Were you always wanting to become an entrepreneur and be able to move away from the standard 9-to-5 401k route?
Yes.
Okay.
I think growing up, I was always an entrepreneur. I remember the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. That was me. I used to buy magazine. I used to sell it for my cousins, or used to get my mom's jewelry and sell it for my aunt. And my past experience, I used to own a beauty school. So that taught me a lot about entrepreneurship and how to build a business. And especially one thing that I loved was empower other people to do the same.
I'm Brian Briscoe, host of the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. And this is a First Deal episode where we walk through what it takes for someone to find, fund, and close on their first apartment complex. And if you're an aspiring investor yourself, you are probably trying to do exactly the same thing. So before we get to this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and the little notification bell to make sure you get notified every single time we post a new episode. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Diary of the Apartment Investor. I'm your host today, Tyler Guptill, and today we have a special guest, Raquel Adkins. She recently closed on her first deal. And so, Raquel, welcome to the show.
Yay! I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Glad we could finally get it to work out between our schedules.
Yes, it was hard, but we got to.
So tell us a little about yourself. What got you into real estate in the first place?
Flipping houses, I think is like the most people I talk to, that everyone starts to getting their feet wet in the real estate world through flipping houses, like a lot of people. We started flipping. My husband has construction background, construction management background. So he built custom homes. We used to live back in California, and then we had a very good team of contractors there locally. And then he transitioned to do more of a commercial new build, like colleges and schools. So we wanted to do our own thing. So we thought flipping would be the best way for us to start. So we started flipping houses, and we made a good amount of money, but we paid so much taxes, and we were searching for other ways to grow a portfolio. And then we came across the BRRRR strategy, but we couldn't quite refinance and get all the money back to be able to pay for another property and be able to keep that one as a refinance. So it was just a bunch of decisions that led us to kind of move out from California to Texas.
You said you were building schools?
Yes, but as a 9-to-5, as a W-2. And
okay. It wasn't your company?
Yeah, it wasn't our company.
Okay.
We decided to do our own thing, and then we started by flipping houses. Yeah, I wish we were. But that's our ultimate goal. I know. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate goal, to actually be able to build to rent. That's what we want to do, more commercial building too. But for now, we kind of decide on back to my beginnings, right? So we were back in California. We were flipping houses like crazy, making good money and reinvesting right away. And then we wanted to do more of a BRRRR, and we kept a couple of houses, but being a landlord was not really for us. So we decided to move to Texas, which was better market altogether. But we forgot a very, very important factor for our business to be able to be working so effortless, back to back houses, where because we had a good amount of contractors at our fingertips, and we didn't have that here, didn't have contacts in Texas. Even though it was easier in a way to get bigger return and bigger spread houses in Texas, but we couldn't find good contractors. And I think we kind of rushed into doing flips here. And that was the end of our flipping career. because everything, one of those the horror stories, everything happened to us in our last flip. And the winter came and all of the brand new pipes were all bursting and no contractor show up. So it was my husband and I working late hours, and it was a nightmare. But one thing that I learned about that project was the mindset, like the importance of having the right mindset, because we kind of took it as we can go about this two ways: complain the whole way through, or even actually giving up and taking a loss in that project, or we can just kind of man up and do it. That's kind of how we did it. And we learned a lot about construction doing it ourselves, because one thing is to tell people how to do it, one thing is doing it ourselves. I learned, especially myself, I learned a lot about
you couldn't find a contractor?
Nope, because the house was in a treasury market, so it was an hour and a half from Dallas, and it was a bunch of mistakes. It wasn't just not finding contractors. I think we had budgets, and we kind of underestimate the size and the age of the property. It was like 100 years old, a huge 2,600 square foot house. It was just massive, and old and all sorts of problems. But it looked nice in the pictures. And when you have it all nicely closed, when we start opening concept and opening the walls, it was just a nightmare. But we got through it, and we did it, and it looked amazing, and it sold for what we were asking, but it took a little bit longer. So that hit our finances pretty, really bad. And we decided to kind of like just rearrange our whole business structure to not do flips anymore. We got traumatized by flipping, but it wasn't just because of the project. It was all the mistakes that we did and the rush that we were kind of eager to start flipping here locally. And we forgot that we had a good team back home, so it was a bad thing that turned out to be a good lesson. I tell my husband all the time, that was like a college of flipping right there that we paid top dollar for. It was a nightmare. But another good thing, we got a bunch of tools, write-offs. We have all sorts of tools now in our garage, but we're never going to use them again, because that's not what we want to do. But then we started to search for other ways to invest, and I started looking for Airbnbs, but I didn't want to be a host. And then we wanted to do midterm, short term, and it was just not for us. And I start searching for multifamily, because a friend of ours did that, and he is just making so much money, and he's took off. And I was like, tell me everything about it.
It's a whole different level. Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game. Like some people message me like asking like, how can I do it? What kind of mortgage? It's like erase everything that and start fresh. That's basically what we did. So we signed up for a mentorship. Michael Blanc, he's our mentor, and we signed up for mentorship. Actually, and within 3 months, we partner up with my mentor. They assign you a mentor in the program. And the guy that actually sold the flip for us, and he used to own a lot of houses, and he sold all of his portfolio, and he remembered us because he sold the house to us. And he said, hey, I have a 1031 exchange for $1 million, and I want to invest with you guys because I saw your work ethic and how well you did the flip yourselves, and I want to invest with you. So that was actually our door to be able to invest and come in as a strong GP and a team, bringing that investor with us, So that's how everything started. Everything happened in the right time, and it was a lot of work. I'm a mom, I have 2 small kids at home with me. So Kyle had to go back to a 9-to-5 just for us to be able to be stable again financially, because that flip just drained us completely. And instead of paying for putting back that money in the savings, we invested back in a mentorship. So it's constantly reinvesting,
That's good though.
I'm glad
Cash
we did.
flow.
Yes, we partner up with my mentor. Now we're business partners, and we closed our first deal within 3 months into fully being a syndicator.
That's awesome.
A lot of late nights though.
I bet. So let's back up a little bit. You moved from, I assume, Southern California.
Yes.
To Dallas, Texas, without a job lined up. You went there to continue doing what you had been doing in California, and then you got there and realized you didn't have the same people available. Oh, wow.
But we had a bunch of, we were eager, and we had a bunch of energy to start here. Market. We had a couple of people that could work with us, but all of them flaked or was way too expensive. So it was a bunch of reasons. A lot of things happened in that
time. A lot of seminars.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people saying, I can flip your house for this much. And then when they come to see the house, they're like 3 times more. We were like, we can't afford anyone, so might as well do it ourselves.
But you were able to sell it at least for what
Yes,
you bought
it
it
was a
for.
happy
And
ending story. We sold
okay.
it for a little bit above asking price. What killed us, I think, was they underestimate the rehab amount and the holding costs, because it took us, because the freeze came over, the winter came over, and then no one was buying houses, and it was snow, and then a bunch of things that we fixed in the house were broken because of the snow. So I think that towards the end was the killing of the deal for us. But we did make the money back, but it wasn't worth it, all the 6 months of hard work. We basically barely made any money back, but
Those
at
reality
least we
TV
sold the
shows
property.
are definitely a different story.
Yes,
And
yeah, my
they make
struggle
it look,
story.
yeah.
My struggle story. My lesson learned big time that cost us a lot of money. No more of that for me. Multifamily is the way to go. And I'm glad that I took the chance, and I'm glad that I jumped ahead first, for sure.
And you got in right away. That's
Yes.
awesome.
And I had like a very obsessive kind of mentality. I'm like, I wasted all this time. My husband had to go back to work. So it was kind of like a punishment for us. So I kind of had the mentality of being obsessed about it. I had all the tools, I had the team. So now it's on me to learn it and to go for it. And that's what I did. That's the entrepreneur in me, I guess.
100%. Did either you or your husband go to any university or college?
He did, for construction management.
Oh, okay. So then is he a manager currently, or did he move out of that now that you're jumping into multifamily?
He works with us now. Yeah, so he's free from the 9 to 5.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Yeah, well, that's kind of the goal for everybody.
Yes.
And the fact you were able to get it within just a few months.
You always think, I keep reading and watching a lot of interviews that people say, when is the right time to leave your work? Because even though you don't need it, it's nice to have that security and that scheduled paycheck, and for us new beginner investors, every money that we get is kind of reinvested back. The more money that we can come in and deal with, the more power and the more shares we have. So it's definitely a get rich long scheme, but sometimes you need the time that your 9 to 5 takes it away from you, so it's always a very difficult situation. And my husband is a vet, so he has some disability check coming in, so at least we could hang on that, but we needed a home. There's a lot of things that he can be doing, and we invest in value add, so he is very hands-on on the renovation of the property, so I needed him out of there.
Yeah, I'm curious how you were able to secure financing for that value add flip without having a job or steady income. Did you guys buy that cash?
No, it was through a lot down payment. I think we had to give 40% down payment, and it's a hard money lender, so it's different than it's non-recourse, so it's the property based. The only reason why we jumped to head first into this property was because we got a deal with a hard money lender that was a 65 loan to value. So if we could find a 65 loan to value house, it was 0 down payment. But we couldn't really get anything. So that's why when we found this house was exactly at the 65, but it came back lower. The appraisal came back way lower. So we were already signing documents for the loans, and we thought that could sell for a certain price, and that would make it into a 65 loan to value, but it came back way lower than expected. So we had to come in with 40% down.
Wow. And you just carried over from your previous profits in California?
Yes. Yeah. We had a lot of, we make a good amount of money. So we always had the bank account was always full for reinvesting. We kind of made sure. That's why my husband stayed in a 9 to 5. So we could kind of like divide our living expenses and our business expenses. So kind of like the business always just kept rolling on its own, but it wasn't enough to be able to provide for our living, but it was pretty close. We just kind of loved the security of his 9 to 5. And in a way, he could kind of leverage his construction background and his job's crew to work with us. So it's kind of everything kind of connected in a way. And it's not like he's a lawyer and we're doing flips on the side. It's all kind of connected. So that's why we could kind of stay within the W2, but doing our flips to the side. But we pay so much in capital gains at the end of the day, and we were just wanting something bigger and better, more stable.
And you found it.
Yes. Glad that we found it before recession.
I know. Did you find out about Michael Blanc's program from an event or just online? Or
online,
through referral?
I started searching. That's one thing that a lot of people ask me, like, how do you start? There's so much free content out there, and especially YouTube. If you type there anything that you want to learn, you just can. Is a free tool to use to educate yourself and to be able to see if that's something that you want to do, because mentorship programs are not cheap. So before you pay for something like that, just go ahead and search as much as you can online and see if that's something you want to do. So that's what we did. The moment we finished the rehab and waiting to sell the house, I was just educating myself, and I was like, that's exactly what I want. It's the path that I want my business to go, and I think that we can start by value add, doing like value add class C, bringing up to a class B, because that's kind of like our background and what we know, how to maximize potential of the properties. So we're kind of like in a bigger scale, in an apartment complex instead of a single family home. So we wanted to do that, but then eventually we want to transition to building new. We have a couple of projects coming up that we are going to start doing, build to rent kind of project. So
that's cool.
Really excited. But value add, you can make so much money with value add if it's the right property, and if you want the right, and if you're not in a rush like we were before. Analyze your numbers.
Absolutely. Were you always wanting to become an entrepreneur and be able to move away from the standard 9-to-5 401k route?
Yes.
Okay.
I think growing up, I was always an entrepreneur. I remember the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. That was me. I used to buy magazine. I used to sell it for my cousins, or used to get my mom's jewelry and sell it for my aunt. They're like, this was nice earring. And I'm like, yeah, I sold it for one. I just had that very in me. In my past experience, I used to own a beauty school. So that taught me a lot about entrepreneurship and how to build a business. And especially one thing that I loved was empower other people to do the same, because the tools and the knowledge that I gave them, they were able to leave their 9-to-5 to work for themselves as a beautician. And I kind of have that in me. And that is what I want to do in this path now that I am in. I want to bring education and investment opportunity for minorities and people that, especially women, and it's funny because I posted the other day a picture of a conference in New York. It was 90%. I saw one lady only in the, and I'm like, I need to bring more ladies. We are just as capable and intelligent to be able. I think it's just a matter of educating more people about it. So that is my entrepreneurship just screaming out loud. So
yeah, that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
And then what was that click that transferred your brain from flipping, renting small houses, maybe even 2, 3, or 4 plexes, to going straight to a 40-plex? Because that's a fairly large deal for your first deal.
Yes. It's large for me, for my mentality. But when you talk to other people, it's like useful money. It's like sometimes I have conversation with other investors. They're like 40. Oh no, sorry, that's too small for me. I only do 500 plus units. Oh, for me, 40 units is a lot, Same thing with money, like hundreds of millions purchase price, and I'm like, yeah, my one is 3 million, purchase price. It was the need of, especially taxes. I was upset of paying so much taxes at the end of the day. And you're screaming why. I believe that when you start any kind of business and when you are an entrepreneur, you need to know what is your why. What motivates you? Why do you want that money? Because it cannot be just about the money. That's one thing that I work very hard to kind of come to a mindset change. Is it's not just money that we're chasing. We're chasing the why. Why is it that you do? And especially after having kids, I was searching for something that I can leave behind. I can't leave a flip behind. That would be just money in the bank that they're gonna have to pay taxes. I wanted to be able to leave a legacy, generational wealth. I wanted to be able to, my rest of my working years, to be able to build something to live for my kids. And that's just apartment, multifamily investing all through and through. That's the way to go. And that clicked in my mind that I'm like, what am I going to leave them? Money? that can just be gone tomorrow with our former business structure, which was flipping. So I thought, what can I leave them? How can I leave them an apartment complex? So I start just searching for it. So that was a moment that clicked, and I'm sure there's a lot more millionaires with multifamily than flipping.
I think so.
That was my click right there.
Wow. So you're definitely very forward thinking.
Yes.
That's
yeah, especially after kids. After kids, you kind of like, I don't want money for myself. I want to be able to leave some money for them, for them to have a life that you didn't have, or not have to work so hard and all those things.
100%. So let's talk a little bit about your deal. Where was it at?
So it's in Macon, Georgia. It's it's a secondary. Some people call it tertiary area, but I think it's secondary. We just came from visiting. We invested even prior to, well, we are a group of people, and my partners went there before. And I kind of jumped on the deal when it was already running. It was already on the raising capital, was already on the contract and everything. So I didn't get to experience the full on the writing and everything. I did it after the fact, just for educational purpose, because we had that 1031 investor willing to invest. We spoke to my mentor, and he said, well, I have a deal on the contract that we are raising, and there's a space for a GP, capital raiser. So I jumped head first. So it was already kind of in the making, so it wasn't from zero. But it's in Macon, Georgia. It's 1 hour from Atlanta. It's a very, very low inventory, high demand area. People are renting for whatever you put the price, and it's a very nice downtown area.
Good market for cash flow.
Yes, it's amazing, and especially because we have a very great wholesaler, local wholesaler that keeps sending deals. In that trip that we just came back from, we saw that my first property, and if we want, we can put like maybe 7 properties on the contract, because they're all amazing. It's just a gold mine, that the area, the whole an hour or half an hour away from Atlanta, anywhere you go, it's just amazing. And it's just cash flowing. There was one apartment that we saw that is $50,000 per door. It's like, I cannot find, and I'm supposed to be the boots on the ground here in Texas, but I cannot find deals or a wholesaler to send me deals that cheap. Normally my doors are like 100, 120 or 80, but horrible deal. And imagine a 50K, and it's below market value, and everywhere around that property is rehabbed and new. So it's an up and coming. So we wanted to buy that one. So it's like, it is a very hot market right now. And we found it's like, remember, I was making money in California because I had a team. So it's very, very important. There's one thing that very early on, I learned about syndication and this kind of investment, that is a team sports for sure, because I didn't have the crew that I had in there, and the same thing is like, I don't have the wholesaler that I have in Macon or in Georgia here in Dallas. So you see, the importance of working with people and networking is very, very important. So that deal is a 40 units. We thought it was a little bit heavier rehab than what actually is. We went there and it was pleasantly surprised by the amount of already units turned around. It was like, we were like, why did he send us, the seller send us the worst pictures, the worst units?
That's a good surprise.
Yes, I was like, why would you choose the worst pictures? You would try to sell it for more money if you send it good pictures, And another thing that we found that was actually very pleasant was to find 2 laundry stations with the machines there, because every machine is very expensive. So it had like 7 or 8 washers and 7 or 8 dryers. So we were very, very surprised. So that's another the CapEx money that we can deploy to something else. Like it needs a lot of maintenance outside. It was the owner kind of left it, for the renters to do whatever they want. So there's a lot of antennas. I hate those satellites, that's my pet peeve. and barbecue was everywhere, and it's gonna be. That's one thing about value add, that you kind of have to come in and re-educate the current tenants. A lot of the tenants will continue because they like the property, or they like the location, and it's a very high demand, so there's not much inventory around. So a lot of people will like to stay, even though we raise the rent. But then you have to retrain them to say, hey, don't throw your barbecue over here. Don't throw your trash over here. So it's a little of a babysitting for the couple months. But it was nice to be able to save money from turning the rehab of the units itself and put it in amenities. We're going to put a dog park and a playground and fix up the laundry rooms. There's a gym. We didn't know. We kind of cut open the locker, and there was a gym with 3 machines there, which looks kind of decent. So it was a lot of good surprises that was like kind of cutting down the budget that we had, that we can deploy to something else instead.
Yeah, those are all really good surprises. You got it for a reasonable price of just over 3 million, right?
3 million, and making and it's good, because I'm trying to find something here in Texas. Unless I get my wholesaler, I cannot find this kind of deals with regular brokers or LoopNet or anything like that. So very, very glad. And I think the second and third deal that we have on the contract is pretty much coming from the same area.
So needless to say, you're going to stay in that gold mine.
I know. I want to do something here that I can just drive by, but I can make the numbers. And especially in today's economy, we have to be very conservative with numbers and with purchase prices and capex budgets and things like that. So in here would be kind of like, do you think a refinance will save this deal kind of thing? Is always like very like, do you think if you do this instead, it will make it? In Georgia, deals are just like, look at this deal. Even if we don't do anything, paint the outside, we can raise rents, and it's already double the investor's money, So that's where I stand. But I will find a good wholesaler. Hey, wholesalers, hit me up.
Yes. Well, it's a tough market right now. All of Texas, actually. San Antonio is really, really hot right now, and Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start mailing campaign. Go back to my wholesaler roots, flipping houses roots, and start mailing some letters to multifamily owners. Try to find something off market myself. I really want that Texas deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about your why and why that's so important. And one thing that we always ask on this podcast: what is your big burning why? What drives you every day?
My family, especially my kids, and I've been in a kind of a journey of a mindset. I have visible tattoos. I'm an immigrant from Brazil, became an American a couple of years ago. So I thought that a lot of things were in my way of being where I wanted to go, or going to the place that I wanted to be. And my why made it all kind of like disappear. There's a lot of mindset that you have to do. And one thing that I didn't understand is why all of the books and all of the millionaires that I read interview or read an article or something, they all talk about the wishful thinking and the mindset and the affirmations and your morning routine. I'm like, why? They all seem to talk like that. So I'm just going to do whatever they say, and I did it. I remember one of the first things on Michael Blank is your mindset and how like you should wake up and do a 2 minutes meditation, this and that. I'm like, whatever this man is saying for me to do, I'm going to do, and he said to kind of like have your affirmations, like you think for this, and I am just as capable of doing this as any other person on earth. And I'm committed to being the best version of myself. I wrote it in a piece of paper and I put it right on my door. Everywhere in the house, you can see these things. So every time that I see it, I make sure that I read it out loud. Something started to change in my mind, and things started to click, and I became very powerful, and especially having that burning why behind my back, behind every step that I took was very important for me to be able to start my career in only 3 months. But there's a lot of mindset change that you have to have, and just destroy any kind of barriers between you and getting there. That's why it's very important to have your why. And even if you don't have kids, it should be about you conquering whatever you want, and especially being financially free. And lately I've been analyzing what financially free means. Because at first I thought, well, money to buy things, right? I have a vision board here in my office, and I have all material things and travels and VIPs and things like that. But then you're like, there is something bigger than this, like your why should be who you want to be as a person. What do you want to give back once you're there? Financial freedom for my kids to choose a life of a purpose, for example, not a life of a money chaser. And for them to be able to choose to use their free time, because they don't have to chase money, to do something good in the world, to give back, to help. For example, my husband, he started a whole campaign to help vets transition from duty to civilian life through real estate investment.
Very cool.
I wish that he knew, because he said that before he was sent back home, there was like a meeting, and then you have a guy from a bank explaining how to open your bank account, kind of like learning back how to live in society kind of way. And he's like, I can be that person and say, hey, and by the way, you could start investing, and this is what you can do, and this is the ways that you can invest. So I want more freedom for us to be able to give back, and I have a great voice because I'm a female and I'm an immigrant, which we are completely minority in this industry. It's not just money to live for my kids and to buy the things. My why is to give back. Once I have that financial freedom, what am I going to do with my free time? I'm done all the traveling. I've done all the buying. So what else is there to, when you kind of like mid-class or poor, as I don't like to call it, and you have a little bit of money, all you can think is all of the things that you can buy and all the things that you can do. But after a while, being rich, it gets old, like you search for something deeper, and you should search for something bigger than that pleasure of buying something in that little time just because you didn't have it before, So that's my burning why, to be able to leave a legacy for my kids, and for us, my kids and I, to be able to use our free time that money provided to give back, and to bring as many people as we can into this industry and educate minorities about it, and bring investment opportunity for minorities too. That's our why for sure.
Well, I can definitely feel your burning why and all the passion you have behind it. So I have no doubt that you'll reach that $1 million status soon. You said that you have a second deal. Is that under contract, or are you working on it right now?
So we have 2 deals on the contract. One is another 30 units in Valdosta. I'm sorry, I can't get that name right. It's like an hour away from Macon, but is same kind of deal, and actually that one looks beautiful and it looks very, very minimum rehab as well. And is 75 a door as well. So it's pretty much the same as this one. So we're raising capital. We're supposed to close next week. So it's coming up. So we're almost there.
Wow.
So it's very, very, it's a law of the first deal. It's like, once you get that first deal, the second and the third and the following ones would be much easier. And it is, and I think it's due because of my team already have everything kind of going, and for that wholesaler that keeps sending us amazing deals. And then I have another one, which is the one that I'm most scared of, which is a 607 doors, and we have to raise 20 million. I was like, are you sure you're going to put this on the contract? Can you please like continue going slower? And he's like, nope. This is a portfolio. This is amazing. This is 70 a door. This is amazing opportunity. And this is and it's funny because I had a goal by the end of 2024, be at 1,000 doors. Even before I became a syndicator, I had it on my message board. And with this deal, it's going to get me pretty close. It's going to get me to, I think, 700 units. So and I still have the whole 2 more years to go. So.
And you've got these done just in a few months. Did you start like late this spring?
Yeah, I started in June.
Okay. So wow.
I started educating myself. So I took the whole June to educate myself, and then start searching for deals and start searching for teams in July. So July, August, September.
Yeah. So like 4 months later, and you've got 2 deals closed.
Yes. But as well, it's like it's not like that for everyone. And doesn't mean that anything if you're not getting through, because I know people from the Michael Blank program that been there for a month, a year, and still haven't got the first deal. It doesn't mean anything. But what I didn't have, and I think that everyone should do, is an obsessive mentality. You don't have time to lose kind of mentality. You have to educate yourself, and you have to go for it. Because there's another thing. I remember that from my past job, which was a beauty school. You can only give so much for that person, all the tools and the knowledge. But if you don't take actions, nothing is going to happen. So a lot of these guys are kind of like, no, I'm not sure if I should jump on this deal, or yes, my LOI got accepted, but I'm not sure yet if this is really a good deal or if I can raise all the capital. You just have to go for it. That's one thing that kind of backfired on us with that flip, because we actually went for it and it turned out to be horrible. But you can't be scared. You kind of have to go for it. If numbers make sense, if all your due diligence makes sense, and you got a good rate on your financing and everything, you should just go for it and see. And especially if you have a team too. It's not just yourself. You have a team behind you. It was a lot of late night work and a lot of session and going for it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was already going to meetups and talking to millionaires. And I'm like, don't mind me with my neck tattoo. I'm here to learn. And you kind of have to have the mentality of taking actions, and nothing can stop you.
I absolutely feel that from you. Well, that's cool. Where can people find you if they want to hear more about your story?
My website is Adkins, A-D as in Delta, K-I-N-S, estates, LLC.com, or my Instagram, which is where I'm most active on, is rockstar_investors. So, because I believe that we have to be rockstar to be able to crush it, so rockstar_investors.
Yeah, you've got to make a splash. Well, we'll have both
Yes.
of those down in the show notes so people can contact you if they want to hear more about you. But
yeah, I would love to connect, to invest with you guys, or to educate, or to even just inspire, answer questions, or get you to your door's goal, set up a door number and I will help you get there.
That's awesome. And I have no doubt that soon enough, you'll be one of those millionaires helping somebody along.
Yes, I hope so.
Thanks very much for coming on. I hope that people are able to connect and be inspired by your story.
Yes, thank you guys for having me and for me to be able to share my story with you guys, and I hope to inspire many.
Hey, if you like that episode, make sure to subscribe. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community yet, which we call the Tribe of Titans, you are missing out. Get 30 days free by clicking the link in the description to this episode, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.